have mercy. Great to be with you, Gil.
Good
I
to
tell you,
have you.
I always love listening to you, man. I tell you the thing about Down Strawberry drives me crazy. As long as you can still bang them out of the park, man, that's the main thing. Isn't that really the whole thing?
That's what's going to be what people are paying for and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, everything else is immaterial, don't you think? I mean, if he still could do what he used to do, then he should get the money, don't you think so?
I just have this feeling, I don't want to stay on Darryl Strawberry tonight. I just have this feeling that if I gypped the government out of $422,000, I wouldn't be hitting Grand Slams. I'd be in the Grand Slammer. I just have a funny I don't know, but I have that feeling.
That's enough of Darryl Strawberry.
I'll bet there's guys doing time for less than 422. What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. A whole bunch of them.
Oh, yeah.
How are you?
I'm great, man. I tell you, the book's doing fantastic. Everything's fine. I got a new syndicated radio show.
Oldie show? Plug it. Go ahead.
Oh, man, it's great. I do it live from Planet Hollywood in Washington, D.C. I do it every Friday night from 7 to 11. We got about 52 stations now.
Not bad for a former Fuller Brush salesman.
Yeah, we're doing real good, and eventually we're going to be doing it from all the Planet Hollywood. We'll be going from Planet Hollywood. And I'm doing those great, good old rock and roll rhythm and blues stuff, and I just love doing that kind of music. And
I want to take you back to one of the stories in the book. I want to get right into it because even though we can't do justice to the story or tell the whole thing on the air, you got to buy Wolfman's new book, Have Mercy, which you just got to do anyhow because it's some of the greatest stories, not just in rock and roll and radio, but it's just some of the greatest stories. My favorite radio story, bar none, which was first told in books in a book called Border Radio, but is for the first time told by the guy who did it in Have Mercy, is the story of how you took over XCRF. XCRF was a station in Mexico. You were in Shreveport at the time.
Yeah.
No, well, first of all, what the hell were you doing out there in the middle of the desert?
Well, you got to understand, when I was a kid, I used to listen to this radio station. This was one of these powerhouse stations that you could hear no matter where you were. In North America, this thing covered that area. Today, these kind of stations don't exist anymore. Now we work, if you're on all over the United States, you're on the satellite, and every station picks you up. But back in those days, to have an AM station that covered the whole enchilada, man, was a really big deal. Well, here I am as a kid. I was a fan of the station all my life. I mean, I used to listen to all the preachers that came on the air, and I listened to, they had all kind of country gospel shows after midnight and rhythm and blues shows and stuff. So I always wanted to see the station. So here I was working for a station in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I finally got a break to go down there and see the station. I took a buddy of mine, Larry Brandon, with me, and we went down to Del Rio. And here we had to go across the border. I had this brand new Starfire Oldsmobile convertible, pink and black, with a nice, Continental kit on the back. And we put the top down, baby, and I took the shirt off. We rode down to Del Rio, and we got there, and I took the car across the border, and then I parked it somewhere, paid somebody to watch it, and we found a cab driver that knew his way out to the radio station. Now, there's no roads out to the station at all. Here it is, 250,000-watt radio station, and ain't got no roads to it, You got to drive through the sagebrush and, all the Texas cactuses and all that stuff. So it's the middle of the night now. It's like about 11 o'clock at night. And we find this cab driver, real kind of a scary fella, Mm-hmm. We get in the back of the cab. He's going to take us out there for $30. So we give him the money. He takes us out there. We're driving in the middle of the darkness. You can't even see your hand in front of your face. Finally, off in the distance, like a mirage, you see this station. It's got lights all around it. There's like two great big buildings, and there's one tower blinking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
250,000 watts, AM, one tower, non-directional. 1570 on the AM dial, which is great for a skywave skip. That's why it got all over the place. And at the time we rode out there, there was some preacher on there. I think it was Reverend J. Charles Jessup from Gulfport, Mississippi, preaching that black-back Bible, And if you send me that magic $7 right now, I'm going to send you one of my personal prayer cloths. One of those guys on the air.
Uh-huh.
So we pull up to the radio station. Cab driver shuts off the lights. The lights stay on. Well, that's interesting, So we go inside, and there was a union meeting going on of all the guys, the engineers and everybody. They were sitting in, about 12 of them. And we came into the station. It was very pretty, very Mexican-like, the way they decorate the buildings. And we walk in past the transmitter, which looked like a, CBS New York, you know what I mean, out in the middle of nowhere. And it was punctuating this preacher yelling and screaming. We go in the back, these guys are having a meeting, and I just kind of show up and wave at them and say, "How you doing, guys?" They didn't expect us, so this one guy could speak English, Mario Farrow, he comes out and he says, "Yes, what can we do for you?" I said, I'm Bob Smith, it's Larry Barron. We come here to see if we can't get this character Wolfman Jack on the air, after midnight. And we're going to talk to Mr. Gonzalez in the morning. We thought we'd come out here and see the station. So he proceeds to tell me about their problems. It seems that the station is in receivership because Gonzalez hadn't paid the taxes. And they have a receiver who is not paying them the money they should make.
Mm-hmm.
And he's coming in and intimidating him and beating the hell out of him every night, you know what I mean? So they're getting a little weird, and they're trying to figure out what to do to get rid of this receiver. I said, "Well, hey, right here, look at here, man. Here, I had about $1,000 on me, I reach in the pocket, and I say, "Hey, listen, man, I tell you what." I lay $300 or $400 on. I said, "Let's, first of all, get something to eat, and let's sit down and talk about this thing." Well, we spent a couple hours talking about it, and I agreed to come up with the money to send these lawyers to Mexico City to get rid of this receiver and appoint a new one, and they would appoint me the U.S. representative for the radio station. This all happened at one time.
Yeah, and you just come over to visit. Now you're taking over the place.
I mean, I lucked out, man. I just happened to walk right in the middle of this weird situation that happened. I'm going to try to make this short because it's a long, drag-out thing.
And I want him to read the book, but now you realize that the guy who is the receiver may come back.
Yeah, and anyway, we get everything laid out, and we leave then, and we send a receiver, the lawyers, to Mexico City the next day. We were up all night with these people. We left the station, went to someplace else, and got it all worked out. So the next day, we get the word that, it cost a few dollars, but we got the thing transferred over, and all of a sudden this guy, Montez, who was the other receiver, he is no longer the guy, and we got our guy appointed, and they gave me a paper making me the U.S. representative. So then I get on the phone to the preachers. They've been dealing with Gonzalez.
Right.
There's about 8 preachers that really support the station. Guys like A.A. Allen, and Reverend Jessup, and Brother Al, and...
You got to get the money from them.
Right, so I already know about these guys because the station we're running in Shreveport, I got the whole list of these guys anyway, the numbers and everything, because we are operating these guys on this little station we got in Shreveport. We got them maybe out in the morning, see. So I know the numbers anyway. So I call them up. I say, "Hello, Reverend Jessup, this old Bob Smith. Listen, I know you're on XCRF, great radio station. I know it's doing you a whole lot of good, Reverend. Yes, it is. Listen, man, if you want to be on tomorrow night, you better send me about 2 months in advance." And I figure you paying about $10,000 a month, so you're going to have to send me about 30 grand, man. So I'm expecting that in the mail here this afternoon. If you're not, you won't be on the air tonight. Guy says, "What?" Hangs up. Bing. Well, every one of them, gave me the...
Sure, they don't know who the hell Bob Smith is.
Yeah, right, yeah. Okay.
Which, by the way, for our listeners who don't know, is you.
Yeah, right. Anyway. So anyway, that night, we go back to the radio station, and Wolfman Jack goes on the air.
First time.
Yeah, first time I had one on the air, and a big, powerhouse. First time Wolfman Jack had one on the air. I was Big Smith with the records, Daddy Jules, Roger Gordon, all these other cats, but this is the first time Wolfman Jack came on the air. And I was having a great time, man. And whole night was standing by the door waiting for somebody to come, blow us apart, because, this thing was bam. It was broadcasting, baby. Well, nothing happened that night, and I spent from like 8 o'clock in the evening till 4 o'clock in the morning doing Wolfman Jack. I went to the local record store, and I had some stuff with me, and I was playing blues all night, having a great time, howling, beating on phone books, running around the radio station, real doing weird stuff, So the next day I go back on the phone and say, "Hello, Reverend Jessup. It's Bob Smith again. Listen, man, I know you didn't hear yourself on the air last night. I'm going to ask you again. Yeah, I need about 30 grand in the mail real fast here. Otherwise, you're going to hear that guy on the air again tonight, and you ain't going to hear yourself." "Oh, Reverend Smith, listen, where do you want me to send that money?" I say, "Well, we got the local place down here where you send the money to. What do you call it?
There was a bank or a Western Union or
yeah,
something.
Right. Yeah, Western Union down here." I said, "You send it right on down here, and I know I can pick it up, and I can deposit it in the bank real fast. We'll have you on the air tonight." Well, bingo, bango. I hit about 8 or 9 of them in a row, collected about 350 grand, bang, just like that. And I put them all back on the air the next night. took the money, ran to Shreveport with it, sent Larry to Shreveport with the money. I kept about 100,000 for myself, went to the radio station, and started paying for all the guys. I bought this guy a new car. I took care of this guy's baby thing. I took care of this guy's problem, that guy's problem. Well, I had everybody in my corner. And then we went to San Antonio, and we bought a whole bunch of guns and ammunition. I bought a 30-30 machine gun, put it on the building, so it looked real scary. Put fencing all around the place, and light bulbs and all kinds of stuff. Made it all look different. And then we waited. Wolfman Jack would go on there at midnight. All the preachers would run up to midnight. Wolfman Jack on him. Ow! This blues stuff started playing. Yeah, Baby King we were playing, and James Brown, and all these bad cats, all the good time rhythm and blues. Oh, a week goes by, man, and nothing still happens. I mean, even Gonzalez, who lives in Del Rio, he don't say nothing. I wonder what the hell's going on. So finally, I call up Wolfwoman. I meet her at the Del Rio Hotel, and we're sitting there and we're talking. I'm listening to Reverend Jessup on the radio, and all of a sudden I hear these bullets going ping down there, and a guy yelling, "Pistoleros, pistoleros!" Evidently, a whole bunch of guys hit the station, and they're riding around the station like a bunch of Indians, around a wagon train, and they're shooting at these guys, and they're shooting back at them because I armed everybody. Well, I jump in my Starfire Oldsmobile convertible, get behind the wheel, crank that sucker up, go across the border. I got about $5,000 in my pocket. I'm spreading $100 bills all over the place. I'm getting everybody I can to come on down and be with me, giving them rifles and 6 guns and all this other kind of stuff, and we're making our way out through the sand dunes to the radio station. Now, by now, it's about 11, 12 midnight. You still can't see nothing, but we got a full moon, so you can really see things in the distance.
Yeah.
And as we come out, we're creating a whole lot of dust, and everything's moving up in the air, and we start shooting the guns up in the air as we're showing up to the radio station, and you can see these guys running around the station, shooting into the station, these guys shooting back. So finally, they saw us coming with the lights blinking and the guns shooting off and everything, and we scared them off. We get out to the radio station. A couple of my guys are wounded, They got leg wounds and arm wounds and neck wounds. And there's 2 of the guys who were riding around the station got killed. So the federales show up. I said, oh, geez, now we're going to really have a problem, So I still got about, $4,000 or $5,000 in my pocket. So the federales show up, and the first thing I do is I greet the general with $1,000 in my hand. I say, General, I'm so glad you made it, I said, these poor guys out here almost got killed, you know what I mean? I said, God, can you guys hang around and make sure they don't come back, And he looked at the money and he counted. He said, Senor Smith, we'd be glad to be here, So I had the Pedro go down and get some goats. We started roasting goats for these guys. There must have been about 20 or 30 of them, right? And I started passing out $100 to all the soldiers, all the guys. And everybody starts having a party, And we got these 2 dead guys laying out there in the field. And I get my boys off to the hospital in Del Rio, so they can get themselves fixed up. They say, well, what are we going to do with these 2 dead guys? Well, they take a look at the situation. Now it's dawn, the sun's coming up. And we take a look at these two guys. And it seems that our guys didn't shoot him. I guess they were riding at night on horseback.
And they shot each other?
They shot each other.
Or anyhow, for $5,000, that's the story you're going to get.
Right, exactly. So they said, hey, everybody's fine, let's take these guys, we'll go and bury them someplace, find out who they are, and get rid of this situation. Everything's fine. So I give the general another $2,000. I say, listen, come on back on Tuesdays. We'll have a nice little cookout here every night for you, and you guys kind of keep an eye on things for me. And anyway, from then on in, Wolfman Jack was on the air. And
what a start. Although I should point out, we got to go to a break. But I should point out, it wasn't long that it wasn't the last you heard from those guys. They tried to assassinate you in your hotel room.
Yes. And also, we got caught in a shootout coming out there in this green van. I mean, it was
just
hairy,
to get
man.
Wolfman Jack on the air. And that's the birth of Wolfman Jack.
I mean, I paid a price to be on the air, baby. I want you to know.
Man. I got to take a break. Welcome back. Wolfman Jack is with me. He's got a book out, Have Mercy, but, it's a good excuse to have him on. We'll have him on under any circumstances, and we'll take your calls, 1-800-456-1227, and we'll start with Dale in Jackson, Tennessee. Hi, Dale.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Good.
All right.
Enjoyed the story.
Well,
Listen, I want to thank you guys. I'm 42 years old. I grew up in the 60s, and I do mean grew up by listening to both of you guys on radio. I was in rural West Tennessee, and we would wait for 11, 12 o'clock for Gil Gross to come across the Clear Channel and get all the way down to this end of the country.
On WLS?
On WLS, right.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
me
and Lou Jack in the mornings.
John Records Landecker
Yeah.
and Gil Gross and all those guys, but they would, the house parents, I lived at a children's home, the house parents didn't really like for us to listen to that kind of music until they heard us listening to Wolfman Jack, and they said, okay, Gil Gross is okay. So I really do want to thank you guys for everything you did for radio, and I really do think you kept it alive in some really tough times.
Thank you, man.
That's really nice of you, baby. Thank you so much.
Keep up the good work, and I'm going to go out and buy your book.
All right, baby. Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care, Dale. Bye-bye. Oh, great. Well, there's a recommendation. And you can. You made it okay for people to listen to me.
Hey.
Well, there. Thank you. Whatever happened to Bob Smith? You mentioned briefly Bob Smith. Bob Smith was the guy that you used to be, the name that you grew up with and all of that. You mentioned in the book you let go of him at one point. Where is he?
Well, you know, I've been Wolfman Jack now for 36 years, so, you know, after a certain period of time, I used to be a good business dude, you know, and everything, too, but I become an entertainer, and when you get into the entertainment thing and you do it every day and you get all that and do shows, you do radio, you do TV, you do stage shows, you kind of lose that part of yourself, you know, because you're trying to perfect and you're trying to hone down your talents, you know, and, you know, for entertaining. So you become the entertainer person, you know. And the other person that I was, the Bob Smith, the business person, I mean, I'm still a great family man. I'm still married to Wolfwoman for 34 years, you know, and I got a great family, and I believe in family and all of that. But as far as being that straight dude, you know, over the years, I've been through so much, man, and I now am Wolfman Jack, and that's what I do, you know what I mean? I don't see changing myself in any way, you know. I always want to be an actor, but everybody found me as Wolfman Jack, so any kind of role I ever got in a movie was Wolfman Jack, you know, so there it is.
Yeah, say bye-bye, Bob Smith. I got to take a break. We'll come back. Wolfman Jack is with me. Todd Rundgren, guess who? I could go on and on. You're in a lot of songs. I don't think there's any other
John
disc jockey.
Anderson just made a record. I don't know the name of it, but I just heard about it about 2 or 3 days ago. He got a hit record, and he does another thing on the Wolfman. I think I got about 22 records with people mention the Wolfman. I'm so great. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord, for thinking about me. I appreciate it.
As a matter of fact, you are in the same sentence with Jesus in Tammy Wynette's
I want
song.
to see Jesus on the midnight special. I want to see the Wolfman bring 'em on. Yes, indeed. That's a great tune. Tammy Wynette, man.
Let me take some more calls. 1-800-456-1227. Jack in Tampa. Hi, Jack.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, sir.
Are we on?
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Hi, Wolfman. Been a fan for years. Remember listening to XERF as a boy up in Chicago. I was wondering, do you have any connection with the station now? And is it still broadcasting with 250,000 watts?
No, it could be, but you know what happened is they let it go, man, and then all the U.S. stations that were like 1580 and 1560 and so on like that, they jumped in there and they got that full-time nighttime. They used to be daytimers, see?
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah.
They weren't allowed to be on at night because XCRF had that clear channel thing.
Uh-huh.
But what happened is they let the station go, and they were off the air for like a year or something like that, and all these guys jumped in and took that nighttime signal. Now they're back on the air again, but because these guys are broadcasting on 1580 and places like that, the station doesn't cut in there anymore. You know?
Besides, it wasn't even
50,000 watts now instead of 200.
They're doing a 50,000 watt thing, and they basically cover Texas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the whole thing about it was, let's face it, besides some of the outlaw preachers that started these things, because a lot of them were the guys, the goat gland guys and all those guys.
Dr. Brinkley, boy, he had a real scam going, man.
Who went down there to start these stations in the first place. A lot of it was you. When XERB chased you out, the Mexican government decided, they were going to get some new guys to run the station, and they chased you out, and they changed their call letters, and they got like professional, sounding programming. And they disappeared off the face of the map. Nobody ever listened to that station again in their lives. I don't know anybody who listened to that station after you left.
Well, now XCRB is all Spanish. You know, they appeal to the the Mexican audience.
Yeah,
in
but
LA.
for a while they tried to do All Soul without the Wolfman.
Oh,
And
they-
it died.
Well,
It
you
died.
see, the thing is, I was making too much money, and they figured they could throw me out and make the same money, and it all disappeared.
How'd you get into the music? How'd you get into the music that you got into? How'd you get into black music? You're a white kid from Brooklyn.
Well, I loved it, man. I grew up listening to it. You know, some of the greatest disc jockeys in the world came out of New York back in those days, and guys that play in rhythm and blues, you know, like Jocko Henderson and people like that. Remember the great WADO, man, was unbelievable back in those days. And Symphony Sid, you know, and Symphony Sid, he's not still around.
I don't think so. No.
Anyway, I think he passed away, didn't he? Yeah. But these were some of the great jocks that I grew up listening to. And then there was Dr. Jive. He used to broadcast from Small's Paradise in Harlem, you know. And he'd be on every night after midnight, play this great rhythm and blues, man. I'd damn near stay up all night long listening to him.
And you had a friend that you write about in the book, Klepto.
Yeah, well, that's...
Who
that's
helped you with your record collection.
That's my buddy who helped me with my record collection, right.
And it's, if we couldn't guess from the nickname, what did he do?
That's right. Oh, he was great, man, I tell you.
He'd stuff his raincoats full of records.
And then we had this little broadcast thing in the coal bin down there, you know, and we go down there, we listen. I used to have this oceanic, transatlantic radio, whatever, you know, with a big aerial on the roof. And I could pick up stations from all around the world on, you know, all the different, on shortwave and long wave and the AM and the FM and everything. And we'd pick up all these wonderful blues things and great jockeys from all over the place, you know. I remember Dick Bionde and all these great guys that, I mean, they were really doing it, man. I mean, they had the thing going. Alan Freed came on the air at WINS in New York. I remember his big coming on the air in New York. He was Moondog, baby, and he was, oh, you know, with the wolves howling and the people growling and all this good down-home blues music.
And this is a tip radio story. And when you got to meet Alan Freed, you're still a kid, basically, at this point. You went to the Paramount, you touched Mr. Freed, and you said, Mr. Freed, I'll do anything to help you. I'd love to help you out in your work. And Mr. Freed said...
Go away, kid, you bother me.
Yes! Tony in Prescott, Arizona. Hi, Tony.
Hello.
How are you?
Okay. Yeah, I was just recounting that I was coming back from Guadalajara, Mexico. I got to some hassle with federales and that sort of thing in 1970. And I used to be an L.A. kid, a fan of Harlem Matinee and Wolfman Jack and Ugly Boy, and the call letters escape me. I can't recall what the call letters were.
KRLA.
Yeah, all right. And I hadn't heard anything from you, Wolfie, in some time, and I was down to a quarter tank of gas, wondering if I was going to make the Mexican-Texas border. And having been through about 3 months of experiences down there with the legal system, I was kind of anxious. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, we're bouncing along on a much-rutted highway headed north. I turned on the radio, knowing that maybe I'd get some mariachi music. And when I heard your voice, man, I felt like I was home. You know?
All right.
It was really like I was already there. And I wish that I might be able to tune you in again sometime. I have no idea where I might tune you in.
He is syndicated across the country with an oldie show that he's doing. And what night is it basically on?
It's on Friday night from 7 to 11 from Planet Hollywood in D.C. I'm on about 52 stations in the top 25 markets. I got about 10 of them. I ain't the real big markets yet, like New York, Chicago, and L.A., but we're getting close, man. And I've only been doing this about 4 months now, so I'm a little young as far as that's concerned in the syndication, live syndication thing. But there's a lot of stations that want to carry it now.
It's just getting...
it's going to be there probably 2 or 3 months in your neighborhood.
You know what you write about when you had the XCRB studios on Sunset, and you got kind of upset because the hippies were coming by, and you write in the book that they were all kind of, you know, coming by drugged out and naked and all of that, and it was bothering you. Now, at the same time, Wolfman, you were on the air. I was listening to you then, and you know, somebody'd call up, and the first thing out of your mouth would be, "Are you naked?"
No, the thing that was bothering me is they were ripping us off about every other week. You know, they'd be sneaking up there in the offices and tearing us apart, and that was getting a little, you know, bit of a pain in the neck. You know, I was worried about them walking around the streets naked. I thought that was fun. But, I mean, when they start ripping you off, that kind of tease you off a little bit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So that was getting to be kind of a drag. Tell me about John Lennon, who was a big fan of yours.
I remember when I first met him. I was doing I was out of XCRB then because they did a number on me. You know, they really stuck it to me. So I was kind of broke, you know. So I got a gig with Bob Wilson at K-Day. Now Bob Wilson, of course, is the producer of Radiowood Records, which is the Bible of the radio business and record business now. But he was the program director of K-Day Radio, and he put me on the air from 7 to midnight, and we had this new album format, you know, that later became real hot on FM radio.
AOR.
Yeah. Anyway, I was doing this gig, and all of a sudden one night, I used to have people come in the studio, just hang around, sit around the studio while I did the show. One night, John Lennon walks in and sits down and says, shh, like, don't tell anybody I'm here, you know. He sits down, takes out a joint, you know, and he sits there, and he's there with me, right? So I'm looking over at John Lennon sitting there over that damn floor, man. I'm doing a radio show. He said, don't tell anybody I'm here. I said, fine, okay. I get off the air that night, and he jumps, he puts me in his limousine. I leave my car at the station, and he takes me to one of his cottages at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and we spent a wonderful night together. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then every time he was in town, he'd come down and hang out at the radio station. And then we'd drive up to my house eventually. We stayed at my house, so we'd stay up till 9, 10 o'clock in the morning talking and stuff. And Yoko would come with him, and her and Wolfman go off in a corner, do their thing, and me and John go off another place, play records and talk and do our thing, you know. And he was a great guy, man. I learned a lot from John. He really wanted to do a lot for the human element, you know. He really felt like he needed to do things for all humanity, and he was very, very, I mean, the government was after him so bad, man. He couldn't understand why everybody was trying to lock him up and put him in jail. He was very paranoid. And, you know, I just believe that he could have done great things if they'd let him stay around.
You also mentioned another name that's in the book. You also did something not a lot of people would do. You turned down an invitation from Elvis Presley, basically to save your marriage.
Yeah, but I later on there's a lot of things I don't talk about, man, because there's some things, you know, you have to keep private, you know, and he was a very special person, and there's too much love there that I couldn't talk about some of the things. Now the Memphis Mafia has come out with this book. Oh, jeez. I don't know if you read it or not, but, you know, the boys that were very close to him now have come out, and they're going to tell all this stupid stuff that people really don't need to hear. I started reading the book. I got about maybe to 100 pages, and I just threw it in the toilet. I couldn't stand it anymore. They're just being so stupid. I can't believe it. I don't want to remember Elvis that way, you know.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. And Wolfman Jack is here, 1-800-456-1227. Welcome back. I'm Gil Gross. Wolfman Jack is with me. You on the phone, and we'll go to Rob in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Gil. How you doing?
Good, sir.
Hey, this is a cell phone, so if you can't hear me, I'm sorry.
No, you're coming in real good there, baby.
Hi, Wolfman.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine, thank you. Hi.
Yeah, turn your radio down, Rob. That's what's messing you up.
Okay.
Turn that radio down.
Okay.
Real quick.
Okay, hey,
Okay.
Wolfman, I've been listening to Imus in the morning. I'm fairly new to listening to him, but he's been saying some weird things about you here in the morning.
I know, man. I love him.
Any truth to any of these stories he's been passing around? I know you're going to be on later this week, but I may not catch it, so.
Hey, man, I love Imus. You know, Imus is he's done more to promote this book than anybody I know of, and whatever he wants to say about me, just fine with me. You understand what I mean? Whatever he says is fine. You know what I mean?
One other thing, I'm not all that familiar with you. I know this song by the Guess Who, and I saw you in American Graffiti when it came out, and I was like 12 years old, and it was real cool then, but what have you been doing?
What have I been doing? Well, I've been enjoying my family. I've been on the road with Wolfman Jack's fabulous 50s and 60s, and I do a whole lot of personal appearance stuff, man. At least 2-3 times a week, I'm out doing shows. I got an entertainment company that puts shows together and books talent and does a whole lot of different things. Now I'm back at radio again. I'm syndicated from Planet Hollywood, and I do a show every Friday night on the satellite. I got about 52 stations online right now, and it's from 7 to 11. I don't know what part of the country you calling from.
He's calling from Elizabethtown, PA. But check your local listings.
No, we're in Pennsylvania. We're in a station in Pennsylvania. I don't know what it is, but we got a station in Pennsylvania.
Let me Let me go to Nick in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Hi, Nick.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Well, listen, I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome.
And first of all, Gil Gross, it's a fantastic program you have. Wolfman Jack, I have to say, now being from Pennsylvania originally before I joined the Air Force, all I can say is the fact that I had heard about you, but I didn't get a chance to listen to you. And I joined the Air Force back in the 60s, and all of a sudden I'm in this remote place up near North Korea in this island, and all of a sudden I'm hearing all across AFKN or AFRTS, you know, that type of thing. And here's Wolfman coming across the radio, and I finally get to hear him and hear all this neat music, and it was just really brings you back to the States, back to the world as we used to call it. And I wanted to say for all of us in the military, it made a big difference to have somebody like that to hear that kind of music over there.
Oh, man, it was a joyous thing to be on the American Forces Network. We spent 16 years doing that. And, you know, it was a real joy to do that, man.
Well, let me, because it's in the book, but I don't think you're going to bring this up by itself, because I think it's one of the most remarkable moments in your life, is the night the Vietnam War Memorial was dedicated.
Yeah, that was too much. Well, we got, you know, they brought me in to entertain the troops who they're going to dedicate the memorial the next day. And, you know, I get like 10 grand a gig, and I got the cash from the guy, and I took all the money, and I went out and bought cases of booze. I bought $10,000 worth of booze. I must have had 5,000 people in this auditorium thing. And I had these guys bring all the stuff in and just broke it out. But we spent all night till the early morning hours just partying, man, and I was playing music for them and loving on them, and they loving on me, and then they wind up carrying me down to
the day the memorial was dedicated. They carried you on their shoulders.
And we just had a great time. Well, probably one of the greatest times of my life.
Let me go to Ryan in Rapid City, South Dakota. Hi, Ryan.
Hello.
How are you?
I just called to say that I'm a great fan of Wolfman Jack's, and I had remembered seeing him during the Sturgis Motorcycle Classic during the video.
Oh, yeah, that was great, man.
And I seen you cruising through them at the grocery store where I worked at, and I just didn't have the guts to approach you.
Oh, man, you can always talk to me, man.
Yeah, I was just, you know, I knew who you were, and I seen you. I'm going, this can't be. I'm going. And then it was really neat to see you in person there.
Next time, say hi.
Yeah.
I invite you out to the rally again.
Oh, I loved it, man. That was one of the best times I ever had.
All right, Ted, thank you for the call, Ryan. We don't have time to, I can only give people a taste of it because we don't have time to tell this story. But you really need to Have Mercy to read it. There is one of the things, at one point where I stopped reading and handed the book over to my wife to read, was there's a great story, and again, we don't have time, but you meet up with a couple of women on the road. And
that's scary.
It's a true story, and it's one of the most frightening, because I know it's true.
That really renewed my belief in God, I'll tell you. And it's hard to tell it in a short period of time.
I know. If I had an hour show with no commercials, we'd turn the lights down and we'd start telling it.
Oh, I'd rather tell this really way it should be told, because it's a real story, and they wished a demon or something on us, man. And the whole camp we were in started to turn cold and everything. You got to read this in the book, because it's true.
Frightening.
And we were going down this lonely road.
These are two women hitchhikers that you picked up there to the source of all
this trouble. Give me goosebumps right now. Look at that. I got duck bumps on my goosebumps.
There you go.
You see that? Just thinking about it, man. But it's a good story, and I wish I could tell it to you the right way.
No, they'll read the book and they'll get it. But I just wanted to tell you on the air, my wife says they were witches.
No question about it. You know. And they really did it to us, too, I'll tell you. I
mean, it's for those of you who know my ghost story, it's like that and then a quantum leap.
Well, I tell you, if we hadn't pulled into that church, baby, they'd have had us.
Okay. See, now they got to buy the book. Let me take a break. We'll come back and we'll wrap up with the Wolfman. Obviously, this program is on tape. I don't know. We didn't even scratch the surface of what's in the book. This was joy. I mean, it's not only a joy to have you here, but
thank you for having me. I always love you, man, and you're just. I have such a good time with you all the time.
I love you, man. It's just you have made me so, along with millions of others, you have just made me so happy over the years at the and it's some really down times and stuff when I could flip on a radio and grab some Wolfman Jack, and especially in the X days when you were playing the music that was really in your heart, and not the stuff that, unfortunately, they made you play at WNBC. But the pre-Tommy Rowe days,
right?
It just made all the difference in the world to tons of us. Tell you what, I'll pass on the same thing that Roy Acuff told you. You wear your legend well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, man. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me.
But you come back anytime. Book is Have Mercy, Confessions of the Original Rock and Roll Animal, Wolfman Jack. It's not only Wolfman. There's some of the best stories about people in rock and roll. Some of the best Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis stories you're ever going to read in your life are in this thing. We're going to sit here during the break and laugh about them ourselves. Wolfman, thank you, man.
Thank you. Hey, it's great being with you, man.
Take care, everybody. I'm Gil Gross. I'll be talking to you.